So in this video, we're going to make a plan for the proof of the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. And so what we're looking at is parallelogram ABCD with diagonals BD and AC, which intersect at point E. And what we're trying to do is show that BE is congruent to ED. If we can show that, then we know that AC bisects BD, and that AE is congruent to AEC, because if we can do that, we can show that BD bisects AC. So that's what we're going to try and get. So at the end of our proof, we want to have that we have some congruent segments. Now, frequently when trying to find congruent segments in a picture, we will have just come from saying that we have triangles that are congruent, because then we can say that the pieces are congruent by CPCTC. In order to get triangles to be congruent, right, we're not going to be able to use these two sides in these two little triangles. What we have to first do is figure out what triangles are we looking at. So for our plan, it might be worth looking at those two little triangles, because then each of these triangles has the pieces that we're trying to make be congruent in it. So those are the triangles. In order to get triangles congruent, you have to have one of the 5 shortcuts. We don't have right triangles, so we can't use hypotenuse leg. We are trying to find that 2 of the pairs of sides are congruent, so we're not going to have SS anywhere in this, which means that the one side that we're going to be able to work with is this side out here, AB and BC. So to get the congruent triangles, we're going to have to prove some congruent segments. Now that's where kind of the trick is on this problem, that to get those congruent, we're also going to need to prove that for these 2 triangles to be congruent, we have some angles that are congruent. And we'll be able to do that in a couple of different ways. One of which would be, because we have a parallelogram, we've got some AIA. That'll give us one pair. And many of you will probably see this pair of angles in the middle here. Right, those vertical angles. And so we're going to be doing some work with vertical angles to get the triangles congruent. Now, to get the segment to be congruent, we actually have to go back to the drawing again. And in this case, we're just going to want to put one diagonal in, because it is the case that in a parallelogram we've got, or we have proven in the past, that opposite sides are congruent. But since we're doing a full proof of this, and we're trying to do it to show mastery of the process, we actually need to prove that these 2 sides are in fact congruent. So what I'm going to have to do is try and prove those 2 are congruent. Now, if those 2 segments are congruent, they probably came from congruent triangles. So I know that I will have done some more triangle congruence work. And so what I'm going to try and do is prove that these 2 triangles are congruent to each other. Now, in this case, to get the triangles congruent to each other, the side that I'm going to be able to work with is this one right here. I know that that side is congruent to itself because of the reflexive property. So I've got that side. I'm trying to prove these sides are congruent. Conversely, I might prove that these 2 are congruent if I'm working with the other 2 triangles. But in either case, I can't use those 2 sides as being congruent, and that's what I'm trying to prove. So this is my only side. Now, I'm given that these are parallel, like that. So I've got some alternate interior angles in here, and alternate interior angles in there that'll be congruent. So I'll have AIA twice to give me some angles that are congruent, and the shared side to be the side that's congruent. So now what I know I need to do is prove these 2 triangles are congruent by angle side angle, and I've got AIA to get two of the angles and shared side to get the side. That's going to give me these two sides are congruent by CPCTC. That's my segment. I will have already proven that these two angles are congruent down here. So that'll be my AIA. Do the work of the vertical angles, then I'll have these two triangles are congruent, and so their pieces are going to be congruent. That's my plan.